Thank you, everybody, for being here today. We're so happy that you decided to join us. My name is Janelle Morrissey, and I'm the manager of the Autism Response Team at Autism Speaks. I am joined today by my colleagues Susan Kelso, Natalie Rodriguez, and our director, Andrew Nelson. And for those who aren't aware, the Autism Response Team, or ART, is an autism information and resource referral line. This essentially means that we take calls and emails from people all across the country who have questions or challenges that are related to autism. So that means we really get a wide variety of requests. But one area that we were noticing a lack of resources for was for resources for augmentative and alternative communication, or AAC, specifically for those who are older. There was a lot of stuff for children, but there wasn't as much for like transition age and older adults. So we knew through a previous partnership we had with Task that they were experts in AAC and assistive technology. And so from there, this partnership and then this presentation developed. So they are the experts, and we are here today to learn from them. Just a quick note that this presentation is recorded, and you will receive a copy of that along with a PDF of the presentation so you can access all the wonderful links. And if you do have any questions as we go throughout the presentation, please submit them via the Q&A feature, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. So now I will pass it over to Laura and Liz to go ahead and get us started. I think you're on mute.
I'm muted. Hi, good morning. I'm Laura Martinez, and I'm the Assistive Technology Program Manager at Task. And I'm going to toss it over to Liz for a few minutes.
Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Ortega, Assistive Technology Coordinator at Task. And before Laura begins today's presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about Task and our services. Task is a nonprofit. We serve 6 counties in Southern California. We are a parent training and information center and a family empowerment center. If you live outside the 6 counties that we serve, please visit the websites on the slide to find the parent training and information center or family empowerment center that serves a county you live in for direct services. You're welcome to attend all of our webinars. These are our services within the tech center at Task. We offer a variety of assistive technology webinars. We also offer individualized online lab appointments. If you're looking for specific apps, websites, Chrome extensions for your children or your clients, we can schedule a 1-hour appointment via Zoom, and we'll be able to show you what we have or know of in the specific areas that you're looking for. We also offer assistive technology consultations. If you already receive an ET assessment and you need someone to go over the report with you, or if you're interested in requesting an ET assessment and you want to learn how to request that, we can help as well. For our augmentative and alternative communication services, we have Project Communicate. We contract with a speech language pathologist and offer a free 1-hour AAC consultation. It is virtual. If you're interested, you can please send me an email, and my email address is on the screen, lizo@tasca.org. We also have a webinar series. It's called Let's Talk AAC. It's 4 webinars. We present 3 out of those 4 throughout the year, and all 4 are available on our YouTube channel. Tech Connection is our online social and skills group for ages 14 to 26. We meet once a month, the 3rd Wednesday from 4 to 5 via Zoom. We also have a monthly newsletter. It's focused on assistive technology. It's called Tech Tidbits. You can visit our website and sign up through our website. It will ask for your name and email address. We have a lot of information and services on assistive technology.
And then just a note, our direct services are available for SoCal only. Okay, thank you, Liz. So we'll get started. So just some key points for today. So understanding AAC. So we're going to go through the definition, the types, different things like that. Also, the importance of AAC in promoting independence and social interaction for autistic individuals. We're going to go over how to obtain AAC, where do we get it, and then strategies for implementing AAC effectively in, home, educational, and work and out in the community settings. And then finally, we'll discuss the role of family and caregivers in supporting AAC youth. And I just wanted to point out the graphic on the right, supporting AAC for older youth and adults. It's about meeting the person where they are. It's less about their age and more about where they are in language and communication development. But we're going to talk a lot more about that. So first, we'll just start with the definition of AT versus AAC. So this is the federal definition of an assistive technology device, which is any item, piece of equipment, or product system, whether acquired commercially off the shelf, modified or customized, that's used to increase, maintain, or improve functional capabilities of individuals with disabilities. And AAC falls under that larger umbrella of assistive technology. AAC is the part of AT that focuses on communication. Other types of AT, just some examples, educational learning aids, tools for hearing and vision, mobility, aids for daily living, and then, of course, AAC, which we're talking about today. So this is the definition by ASHA, which is the American Speech Language Hearing Association. And their definition of AAC is it includes all forms of communication other than oral speech that are used to express thoughts, needs, wants, and ideas. And we use AAC, all of us, every day when we make facial expressions or gestures or talk with our hands like I do, or even when we use symbols or pictures or when we write. So we're going to get into the different types of AAC. So we're going to start with no tech. So no tech is just what it sounds like. Basically, it is anything you can use with just your body. So again, those gestures, you can include sign language. Maybe they have a nonverbal yes or no response. Maybe it's a head shake or an eye blink, things like that. Also, those facial expressions and body language. Then we're going to get into light tech AAC. And these types of communication aids are defined as those that generally don't need batteries or electricity or any kind of electronics to meet those communication needs. So just some examples would be letter boards, flip books, choice boards, picture books, things that I have pictured here. Maybe it's a lanyard or a keychain that has communication symbols on it, different things that you might need. And we'll talk about this a little more throughout the presentation. After each section, we've included resources or vendors for the section. So here we have light tech AAC vendors, so different places you can purchase light tech AAC. And then I included two sites, which is PRC Saltillo and Toby Dynabox, where you can download free boards or communication books. When we move on to mid-tech AAC, this is usually a device that requires batteries, but also minimal training for programming. And oftentimes they feature multiple levels and enhanced functions compared to a low or a no-tech device. Mid-tech devices typically provide a voice output that uses digitized or recorded speech rather than computerized speech. So just some examples of mid-tech AAC, a single hit switch like we have all the way to the left. They can be a single level or multi-level device. So the second one over is called a cheap talk. It has 4 different buttons that you can press and program. With mid-tech, they're typically really easy to program and switch around. And then the next 2 we have here are different types of Go Talk devices. So some mid-tech AAC vendors, not all of them, of course, but probably I try to do the most used ones or the more popular ones. And so you have those here. All your links will be clickable when you get your handouts. So you're welcome to explore. Next, we move on to high-tech AAC. So when we're talking high-tech AAC, they're typically electronic systems that use technologies like a tablet or a computer to generate speech from stored messages or from text input. So these speech generating devices, or SGDs, can be a dedicated communication device, like you see on the bottom picture here, or it can be a tablet, an iPad or an Android tablet that has a communication app on it. So there's all kinds of different dedicated or speech generating devices. And high-tech AAC offers advanced features such as digital message storage, that synthesized or computerized voice output, usually word prediction, and then you can add a lot more vocabulary, which allows users to express themselves more independently. Here are some high-tech AAC examples. So on the left, we have a PRC device, parenchyromic device. Next over, we have a text-based AAC app. Again, we have on the top right, we have the LAMP Words for Life app from PRC. Bottom left, we have a couple of other devices with the one on the far left has an eye gaze input system. Then we have a dedicated tablet device, and then some more devices, just so you can see there's a lot of different choices. And we did include different high-tech AAC device vendors along with some AAC app vendors. So some common myths about AAC. So there is a common myth that if you use AAC, it's going to delay speech. And a lot of people think this to be true, but there's a lot of research out there that shows that AAC often helps, not hinders that verbal communication. So it can reduce frustration and give a reliable way to communicate with someone that has aphasia or that's, has trouble with word recall. It can really help to have the words there, the symbols there to help bridge that. So it really does not delay speech. In fact, it can help. Some people think of AAC as a last resort. But in truth, waiting to introduce AAC can delay language development. And early intervention with AAC does provide a foundation for communication and growth. But I do want to point out that you can start AAC at any age. Another myth is that prerequisites are needed. There are no prerequisites at all required to use AAC. So a user doesn't have to be a certain age, have specific cognitive skills, or show readiness. We always presume competence and see what type of AAC somebody can use, what is best for the person. Another myth is that AAC is only for non-speaking people. It's also used by individuals with some speech to supplement their communication. Another myth, AAC is just for basic wants and needs. AAC is a full communication tool, and you want to share opinions and jokes and feelings and be able to protest and everything that you want to do to communicate, which of course includes engaging in conversations. And then another myth, families don't need to know the AAC device. In order for AAC to be effective, families and caregivers need to understand and be able to model the system. Another myth is that AAC is expensive. While high-tech devices can be costly or expensive, there are low-tech and mid-tech options available. And then, of course, we're going to talk later about funding or insurance that can cover costs. Okay, we're going to go on to the importance of communication. And I'm going to start with a video called The Real Boys.
The first time I told anyone anything about myself was when I was 9 years old. Until then, the way I felt must be described as a prison of my thoughts without a door. I could think, but no one knew. Everyone thought I was dumb. Not being able to communicate seemed like torture. Sometimes I would even scream like I was being tortured. I felt like I was fighting with my mouth, and it wouldn't move. The way I behaved was very hard for those around me. I tried to imagine a world in which I could communicate. It would be a world filled with conversation and understanding. And I would be included in the beautiful world where friendships grow like flowers in a garden when the spring rains fall.
Inclusion means that people look at me as normal. Just a person that can't always control his body. I want people to accept me as I am and focus on my strengths, not just my challenges. When people meet me, I want them to smile and say hi just like they would with anyone else. Just because I don't look at you doesn't mean I'm not listening or don't understand. I always understand.
Okay. G, having. L, you're doing great. Keep going. T, but. Go ahead, play it.
Means having a place in society not to solely exist but to thrive and contribute together for the greater good.
J, S, T, just. H, H, come on. A, P, P, Y, happy. C, A, R, E, care. A, B, O, come on. U, T, just having good people that I care about.
In 5 years, I want to live with my friends in a home of my own and a job that helps the world be a better place.
5 years years is not that long, but I think I want what other 25-year-olds want, to not live with mom and dad.
Since learning to communicate, my life has become so amazingly rich. When my mom asked how long I had been able to talk, I answered, a long time. I was just waiting for you to figure out a way how.
You're muted, Laura.
And I'm muted again. So that video is pretty powerful. It's one of my favorites, but it illustrates, excuse me, it does illustrate that it's never too late to communicate, and there's all different ways to communicate. And so, gosh, it's just so important that we presume competence. Like he said, he always knew how to communicate. He was just waiting for someone to figure out how. Okay, importance for AAC for autistic individuals. So it supports independence by enabling clear expression of needs and feelings and choices. It's going to enhance social interaction by providing tools to share interests and ask questions and engage in conversations, say hello, do all of those things. Honors communication rights and offers a reliable, empowering way to express your identity, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. Many autistic individuals have strong visual processing skills, and AAC, especially visual systems like picture boards and things with icons, can make language more concrete and easier to process. Again, we talked about this. It does not hinder speech development. It often encourages it. And AAC isn't a last resort. It's a pathway to independence and connection for autistic individuals. And that can happen at any age. So just a little bit about the reasons we communicate. So yes, of course, we request. We want to be able to, tell our needs, but we also want to make decisions and ask for help and maybe manage our environment. Maybe we want a light turned off or the air conditioner turned down or things like that. Super important is refusal or disagreement. Expressing, yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to eat that. I don't want to go there. Super important. Pardon me, I need to cough. Sorry about that. Social interaction or relationship building. So, helping meet those emotional needs, engaging with others, initiating conversations, and sharing thoughts and feelings helps to develop those relationships. And honestly, being able to talk about what you want to talk about, sharing information and opinions, being able to respond to inquiries, but also providing updates on your life, on events, giving instructions, expressing our own opinions clearly. And what might happen if we cannot communicate? So sorry. So when verbal communication is difficult, it can lead to frustration, which can lead to meltdowns or other challenging things. AAC can offer that an alternative way for expression, which can help reduce that distress or outbursts or, I hate to say it, but behavioral issues. Excuse me. So all behavior is a form of communication. So people are communicating something through our behavior during every moment of every day, even if we're not aware of it at the time. So a person's so-called problematic or negative behavior is a sign that they're upset and that something's not right. You can tell day to day if one of us is upset or unhappy or happy by our expressions or how we communicate, folding your arms and making a face, or yelling or doing whatever it is to express that you're upset. So many times those negative things seen as negative behaviors occur because people have either poor expressive communication, or because their receptive communication needs help as well. So think about how you would feel if you're trying to communicate and you were not understood. It can really be frustrating. So this is another of my favorite videos, and this is communicating without speaking.
What can I get started for you today? Express yourself. What size? All right. 3 venti lattes. Would you care for a pastry? Nope. Mocha. 3 mocha lattes. Oof. Double chocolate chip muffin. Yum. Express yourself. You want 3 Paul McCartney CDs. Awesome. I love the Beatles. They are my life. Assassination. Abraham Lincoln. You, me, gun, shoot. 3 shots. I know, I'm a little slow today. All right, so 3 lattes, 3 mochas, double chocolate chip muffin, and 3 shots. No assassinations. Oh, and 3 Paul McCartney CDs. That's gonna be 6812.
So you could see how frustrating that would be for someone not to understand you when you're trying to communicate. And I know this happens a lot to many folks every day. But asking the right questions, clarifying, things like that can be super helpful and super important. And we'll talk about that as well. So what happens when we can communicate? So we saw what happens when we can't communicate. So of course, greater independence and social interaction of autistic individuals. That can lead to self-advocacy, self-expression, autonomy, confidence. Of course, the ability to express your thoughts, feelings, and opinions, both positive and negative. Enhanced social engagement, more positive behavior, expanded language skills, of course, and expansion of complex ideas. So how do you know if you would benefit from AAC? Augmentative and alternative communication can be helpful for anyone that's unable to use speech in order to get their communication needs met. So this can include many people, individuals with autism, apraxia of speech, any kind of trouble with word recall, or any other diagnoses that can cause an individual to be unable to communicate their thoughts. And AAC may be beneficial for individuals who have trouble getting their needs met with their current form of communication, for those who might have unintelligible speech, or those who are unable to speak sometimes or all of the time. And again, there are no prerequisites required to use AAC. There's no definitive age or motor or cognitive criteria at all. So how do I get AAC? So here's a little bit of assessment information. So who does an AAC assessment? Well, typically a licensed speech language pathologist who specializes in AAC or who knows AAC, because not all SLPs are familiar with AAC. So why? They assess communication needs, your strengths, and the best type of system, whether that be an app, or speech generating device, or low tech device. And how you can find an AAC assessor. Of course, there are other ways, but one, you can ask your primary care provider or your therapist for a referral. You can search online for AAC evaluators that are speech language pathologists near you. Local hospitals, rehab centers, university speech clinics. If your child is in school and has an IEP in place, of course, you can go through your school district and request an AAC assessment. And then local autism support organizations like Autism Speaks, they often know AAC friendly SLPs. And just note that an AAC assessment is an important step in matching that correct AAC to the user's specific needs, because there's so much out there. And then on the other side, funding AAC assessments and systems. So if you go through your school system, it needs to be an educational necessity. You need to request an AAC assessment in writing. And if your child has, of course, an IEP in place and has a speech disability, that's a good indicator to ask for an AAC assessment. Again, you feel free to reach out to either Liz or I or to our autism response team if you have any questions. When you go under insurance, it has to be a medical necessity. Those are the buzzwords. You want to contact your insurance company and request their policy on durable medical equipment or DME. A doctor or an SLP may need to complete that request to get it rolling. The Department of Rehabilitation, now in California, they have what's called the Voice Options Program. And this program, you can get a speech generating device, which is an iPad with a preloaded AAC app on it at no cost. Now, there's a process. I've included the website here, but there's a process you need to go through. You borrow an iPad with, I think it's 5 or 6 AAC apps on it. You try the different apps, decide which one you want, and then you go back and they give you an iPad loaded with the app that you want. With this, there's no assessment. So it's kind of a self-referral, self-decision type thing. If you're part of the Department of Rehab and you have an IPE or individualized plan for employment, if you're an eligible client, they can include communication supports like AAC devices in that IEP if they're necessary for you to achieve your employment goal. So just keep that in mind. Other ways to fund regional center is a payer of last resort. So you need to exhaust all other resources. Of course, regional centers in California only. Of course, you can pay privately. There are grants out there, and a lot of I call them the animal clubs, can do equipment donations like the Elks Club or the Shriners, things like that. There are also AT reuse and recycle centers all over where you can possibly get a used device or borrow a device and do it that way. And then just a couple other ideas, a flexible spending or an ABLE account or an HSA health savings account. You can use those for AAC expenses. And then just a final note on that is AAC vendors typically have a funding department that can help you through the steps. And they're a wealth of information. Liz and I just attended a webinar last week about the funding process with a vendor. This one was Toby Dynavox, but a bunch of them have different ones, and they really walk you through the whole process. So person-centered AAC. So we want to make sure the system is customized to the AAC user, every single system. So when we're looking at icons, they can have picture symbols, they can be actual photos, and they can have words or not words, or they can just be text-based without icons like the picture on the right. Again, it depends on the person, what their literacy level is, what their comfort level is. Now, text-based systems typically have word prediction, like you can see in the middle here on the right picture, which can help with the typing time and the keystrokes. Some icon-based systems, most of them have a keyboard with word prediction as well. Many systems have the capacity to store frequently used phrases that can be accessed by hitting one button. And why that's important is you can be in the middle of constructing a sentence and someone goes by and says, "Hey, how you doing?" You can stop and hit. They're usually called quick fires or something like that. You can hit, say, "Hey, good, how are you?" And then keep on with your message. And then all systems should have access to a keyboard, because no matter how much vocabulary is on, you're not going to have every single word. And whether or not they can use a keyboard or spell at the time, you're going to want it on there because that's going to help with spelling and literacy. So the goal of AAC is autonomous communication, right? You want to be able to say what you want to say to whoever you want to say it to, whenever they want to say it, however you choose to say it. That's a quote by Gail Porter. So when we're talking about AAC for teens or adults, it's going to look different from systems that are used with children. There are going to be different symbol systems, different language systems, and of course, much different vocabulary, larger vocabulary. You might put things in like curse words where adults or teens, or slang. Some of it might be racy. They're adults. They can talk about what they want to talk about. You need to put in words for body parts, be able to make jokes, talk about current events, of course, self-advocacy, medical terms, things like this, super important. And of course, likes and dislikes of the AAC communicator. Another way to personalize it is make sure the user gets to choose the voice they use on their speech generating device. There are so many voices offered on different systems, and they might be picturing their voice different than you do, so it's important to try out different voices. Most symbol systems now can be customized to change the skin color, the hair color. So you might have someone with darker skin that has pink hair. Many of the systems you can change things like that. And then personal interest inventories can really help determine what is needed. So we have a couple here, links here for you to 2 different personal interest forms by Graphica. One is more complicated or more involved than the other. I'll try to open it so you can see it. We won't go through the whole thing, I promise, because it would be long. But a personal interest form is really important when we're setting up or looking at devices, because you want to add all their personal information. Maybe they have a government name and a nickname that they go by. Their personal pronouns, their emergency contact information. You might want to put their health information, the medications they take, their likes, their dislikes, things that they're allergic to, things they can't eat, things they don't want to eat, things they like to eat, all the people in their lives. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I just wanted you to see there's a lot involved in a personal interest inventory. And then there are ones that are more simple, where it's they're more picture based, Are you interested in news or current event? No, yes, very, things like that. And it goes through, do you have a pet? Yes, I love to talk about my dog. So you want to make sure that that's in there. So learning AAC implementation, easy for me to say, and training. So communication symbols. So all communication, of course, is achieved through the use of symbols. So symbols take the form of words, sounds, gestures, or visual images, and they're used to convey other ideas and beliefs. So I like to use the stop sign as an example. Most people, when they see that red octagon, they know that's a symbol for stop. But there are so many vendors and they have different symbols for different words. So here I have 4 symbols from different vendors, and these are all symbols for the word help. So looking at those, sorry, 5, I can count. You can see some of them are more, practical, like someone, holding up the first one, you might get that that's help, or the second one. But somebody might look at that red cross and not know that that means help, or just the hand and not know that that's help. So it's important to take those symbols into account when we're looking at devices for people. Then core and fringe words, and you've probably heard these terms, but what core words are, it's a small number of words, but it's used for most of the things that we say daily. Often there are pronouns, verbs, and prepositions, and they're typically applicable to children and adults across. So on the right here, this is a core board. I placed a link. It's a free core board that you can download. Words like and want and get and go and do, stop, finished, things like that. Then when you talk to fringe or topic specific or activity specific words, of course, that's an infinite number of words, but they're mostly nouns and they include user specific type things. So if you try to communicate with all nouns, it doesn't really work. You can't make a sentence with all nouns like horse, cow, chair. It just doesn't work. But you can make a sentence with all core words if you need to. So my example is, can we go to Starbucks to get a latte? So there are our core words in green and our topic specific words in red. Implementation planning. So in order to support people who use AAC, of course, we want them to be successful communicators. We need to implement properly and for them. And it's a dynamic process because it's ever changing and ongoing. And of course, we're going to consider the person. We're going to consider their communication partners, the environment they're going to communicate in. Are they outside? Is it loud? Is it bright? Are they inside? Of course, their communication requirements and the complexity of the system. So there's a lot to take into account. So some ways to support student are reviewed often and changed again as needed in order to increase that communication autonomy. So you want to establish clear goals, which is the SMART. I'm sure you guys have heard of SMART goals. You also want to prepare the environment. So you want to make sure it's a positive communication environment, meaning, excuse me, are you in a loud room that they're not going to be able to hear? Are you in the bright sun where they can't see their device? So you want to set up, if possible, especially when we're learning to use our communication devices, you want to set up a positive environment if you can. Using implementation planning documents, I do have a link here for one. They should be dynamic and have the ability to edit and change as you go. And you want to include team roles and responsibility. Who's going to do what? Who's going to charge the device? Who's going to add words to the device? Who's going to do all these things? You also want to make sure it's clear who is going to train the AAC user, staff, parents, teachers, other professionals. You want that all put in the implementation plan so you can make sure that that's getting done and that that's an ongoing thing. So, how to teach AAC. And I got this from a website called Speechy Mussings, which I really, really love. So, AAC basics. You want to get familiar with AAC and what it is, whatever that looks like for you and your user. So, if it's a paper core board, if it's an advanced system, get familiar with it, know where things are so that you can help model. You want to make sure whatever their system is that it's out and accessible at all times. You want to consistently model using their system or an identical system if possible. You want to start with focusing on core vocabulary again because you can get more said and learn that for vocabulary. You're going to use it the most. And then you want to allow for communication opportunities, plan opportunities for communication throughout the day, whatever that looks like for that individual. So whether it's at home, at school, out in the community, in the work environment, you want to make sure that you're giving that AAC speaker time to use the device and learn the device. So just a little bit, some tips. Very importantly, modeling is for communication and not compliance. So we're modeling to communicate and connect with the individual, and we're going to model without expectation. So we're going to take that device and we're going to model by touching the buttons. Do you want to go? Might just start with one word. It depends on where the person is at. You want to go there. Do you want to open that? Depending on what it is. And you also want to honor every communication attempt. So everyone that learns to talk, even when we're very small, we do what's called babbling. So little kids babble, they're not sure, forming their words. Well, we do that on AAC devices as well. Sometimes we're just pushing buttons, trying to figure out where everything is, how it sounds. I'm trying to remember what folder things are in because some higher tech devices can be complicated. So you have a folder within a folder within a folder within a folder sometimes when you're trying to find words. So you really want to not only allow time to learn the layout of the system for both the user and the communication partner or support person, but you want to honor every communication attempt. So whatever button they pushed, whether or not you think that's what they meant to push, you can say, I heard you say this. Is that what you meant to say? Or I heard you say this. Did you want to talk about that? And they'll tell you. You always want to allow time to respond. And this is really important. It took me so many years to remember and learn how to do this because it's so hard not to automatically respond or try to fill silent gaps. My tip is to count to 10 silently in your head if you need to. And if they're still typing their message, I physically just bite my tongue and count again. Give them time to respond. Don't ask rapid fire questions. Ask one question at a time. Let them respond. It does take a heck of a lot longer to respond using AAC than it does with a natural voice. You want to ask open-ended questions most of the time. because just yes or no doesn't, that's a conversation stopper. You want a conversation driver. You want something so that they can expand and be able to tell you what they think and feel and want. If you're not understanding and you need clarification, those yes, no questions can be super helpful. Did you mean to say this? Or what word are you looking for? You can use a keyboard and say, does it start with an S? Does it start with this? Does it start with this? And try to figure out what they're trying to say. Another thing is you always want to have a backup plan. For example, a low-tech printout of maybe core words or your speech generating device's core page, or whatever their front page looks like. You do want extra batteries or charging equipment with you, because you don't want to be stuck where their device is not working and they're unable to communicate. That is super frustrating. So AAC goals and transition planning, super important. So when we're talking about transition planning and AAC, you want to make sure you embed AAC in the IEP/transition goals. This can include things like employment, college, daily living, community access. Where are we going? What are we going to be doing after high school? And we want to make sure that we include those things in our goals. And I always like to point out the AAC or any time of AT is never the goal. That is the tool we're going to use to get to the goal. I hope that makes sense. You want to involve the student and their family in the planning process, of course, as much as possible, to ensure their voice is heard. We want to make sure they're empowered in their own transition and they can lead down the road that they want to go. I did include the dynamic goals grid, a link. It is a form that is often used. It is often called the DAG, D-A-G-G. They are on version 3 now. This, I promise I won't go through the whole thing, but I did leave a link to this form. And basically, this is going to help with your AAC goals. Again, lots of questions, and it does break down for the speech language pathologist and for the team where our speaker is on everything. Are they an emergent user? Are they emergent transitional? Are they context dependent? It really goes through step by step. And can be super helpful. And again, I included a link, but it's also available on the Tobii Dynavox website. Of course, we want to focus on the individual's strengths, their preferences, and their interests to develop age-appropriate post-secondary goals related to employment or education or independent living, or all three, hopefully. We want to prepare for those changes in support. So if we have a school-funded device and we're going to adult services, we need to prepare for getting a device funded, maybe through our insurance or through one of the other avenues that we talked about. Because if they've gotten their device through school, that device belongs to the school and they must leave it when they graduate. Training new staff and employers about or on this person's new system and how to respect it can be really powerful and really important. Not to touch their device unless you ask, things like that. The more people are trained and the more they know, the better it will be for our AAC speakers. So transition-focused AAC goals. So of course we want them to be person-centered and align with that individual's needs. We want to look at their interests and their future aspirations related to either employment, independent living, community engagement, all of those things. And these goals are founded on 4 key areas of communicative competence, which communicative competence, easy for me to say for AAC users, are operational, linguistic, social, and strategic. And effective AAC goals during this transition emphasize the development of those functional skills. So, of course, we want to promote that independent self-determination, employment readiness, social participation for all of the above. So I've included just a few AAC goal samples. There's one for self-determination and advocacy. You will be receiving a lot of resources, which we'll talk about at the end, where you can access an AAC goal bank that can be super helpful. So the first one, we have communicating personal boundaries. So during interactions with peers and support staff, the individual will use their AAC system to protest or reject undesired activities. So things like no, stop, don't like, I don't want it, with 80% accuracy. I have one for safety and medical information. This is really important. The individual will use their device to communicate personal health and safety information. So allergies, pain, who their emergency contact is, things like that, to a known communication partner when prompted. So that's how you're going to practice things like that. And then you'll eventually be able to do I will set a strange communication partner, not a person not known to the person. For employment and vocational goals, apply for jobs. The individual will use their AAC system to answer so many questions out of so many interview questions, given minimal verbal cues. And then there's an independent living goal in here using multimodal communication for daily tasks. So modal communication. So we don't just use an AAC system. Maybe we have some words we use. We have some gestures. We have some nonverbal yes or no responses. We're going to use all of those things. They're going to use a combination of AAC methods to communicate a need during a daily activity, such as meal preparation, something like that, with so many % accuracy. So again, these are just examples. So I found this on the Practical AAC site, and this is a website that I highly suggest that you look at. They have wonderful information. 5 actionable steps to support the transition process. So you do want to provide troubleshooting resources, whether that looks like technical support, have the number or the contact info for your local AAC rep, consultant. You want to make sure they know how to do simple programming. Somebody knows how to do simple programming on the device. They often have quick guides and things that are right on the device that you can get to. And you want to have evaluation resources because your needs can change. Again, you want to ensure that there's a backup system in place. There could be a low-tech printout, could be a different system, just another way to communicate, just in case. Communication dictionaries can be important. And what a communication dictionary is, basically, it can be a piece of paper or a form that indicates what somebody does when they are happy or upset. So maybe they clasp their hands when they're upset, or maybe they swipe, or maybe they do a certain thing. If you know that if I put my hands in my lap, I am settled and I'm ready to go, that's going to be helpful. Or if I push something away, it means I'm done. I don't want to do it. Exploring communication opportunities within the new natural environment, if you're able to do that. So where will this person be during the time that they're typically at school? where they were at school? Are they going to be at work, at college, a day program? Are they going to be at home? Are they going to be out in the community? Or are they going to be volunteering somewhere? So if they're able to go to that environment and just practice communication opportunities so that they can get used to it. And then finally, providing a pre-transition support with the new setting. So wherever we're going to be, we want to train our new communication partners, give them different strategies, things like that. So I did include some AAC goal and transition planning resources. So there's 2 AAC goal banks that you can go to get ideas. And then there are 3 different resources here for transition tools. I did want to point out the FAF, or the Framing a Future tool by the Bridge School. You can download that, and it's really helpful for some people. So communication partners. So the role of the family and the caregiver in supporting AAC use is very, very important. Being a supportive communication partner to an AAC device user, you have to remember you're in this together. So communicating with someone who's using AAC is a shared responsibility, just like communicating with anyone else. And the first step to that is being prepared to change your communication style, the way you communicate, to achieve the best interaction. So again, that can look like making sure you pause, asking open-ended questions, doing things like that. You want to appreciate your partner's work. So communicating verbally is easy for the bulk of us, for most of us. But communicating on an AAC device does involve learning many new skills, and it takes that time. So you want to respect their effort. It's, you've got to learn on your AAC device or app or whatever your system is, where all the buttons are, and that can take time. And I like to equate that, if those of you that are computer users that know the QWERTY keyboard layout, think about if somebody took your keys and just move them all around. It's going to take time to figure out where the heck they all are, right? So same thing with learning an AAC device. So setting the stage, getting rid of that background noise if it's possible, and reducing glare on the device. So sometimes it's hard if you're in the direct sun to see, maybe taking them somewhere that's more shady, or turn them around so the sun's hitting at a different angle, whatever that looks like. And then wait, and wait some more. An average verbal communicator can easily say 150 words in 1 minute. And it takes an average AAC user about 15 words. A minute to do 15 words. So remember that communicating on device does take time, and be prepared to slow the pace of the conversation. So a few more things, and I got this from aphasia.com, which is Lingraphica. Lingraphica is an AAC device vendor. Make sure you understood the user. It's okay to say, did you mean this? Or I'm not sure I understood that. I have to do this a lot, and going back and forth, you want to make sure that you're not just nodding yes when you're not understanding, because that doesn't do either of you any good. And you want to be persistent when you didn't get that message or didn't understand it. You want to make sure that your partner knows that you're valuing what they're trying to communicate, and you want to figure it out. You want to focus on the person. It can be, it's so easy to be distracted in this world, especially with our phones and different technology, but you need to remember that you're communicating with the person, not the device. And again, just ask. That's a big one. So if you're not sure if your communication partner has something to say or needs more time, you can ask. Do you need more time to answer? Do you have anything more to say, or were you finished? And then not being afraid of the device. So add in fun icons, delete things that aren't helpful. You really can't break it. I mean, you could, I guess, if you really tried, but typically making changes like that can always be undone or be fixed. So some more tips for communication partners. We always want to presume competence. Everyone can learn. Everyone has something to say. You want to keep whatever their AAC is, whatever their system looks like, available at all times. I can't tell you how many times I hear, oh, they never got it out of the back or they never took it out. We only take it out at XYZ time. No, you want to make sure it's always available. Model, model, model. And there are a lot of different modeling strategies, but again, pointing to different things on the device and just waiting expectantly. If they don't say anything, you're just going to keep going. You're not going to require it. Again, providing that adequate wait time. I know I've said that a lot, but it's super, super important. And then you want to use different strategies to respond to communication. So they might have said a short sentence, and you want to expand on that. You want to expand, repeat what you heard. Oh, I heard you say this, and then expand on that. Keep going. Asking how you can better support them is key. I have many friends that are AAC speakers, and they all have different ways that they like or don't like to be helped. Most people don't like you to guess what they're trying to say, but I do have one friend that does. She wants you to try to guess. So it's best to ask them and how you can support them better. You want to be flexible and ready to adapt or make changes. You're always going to need to change vocabulary because different things come up, especially fringe vocabulary, topic specific things. You want to make sure that you're able to add in pages or folders that reflect what they're doing and what they're interested in. And then I included a link to a communication partner checklist. And you don't have to use this one, but something like this can be super helpful. So this one is a 3-pager, and you can go through it with your communicator and talk about what, different strategies. What's the best way to gain their attention? How do you want them to speak to you? This one is by Assistiveware that makes Proloquo to Go and other AAC apps, but there are all different ones out there. Anyway, just different strategies, different ways you can go through, and then you ask the AAC user, yes, do you want me to do this? No, I don't want you to do that. Or just ask, was it helpful? You can go through and go over it and see what worked, what didn't work, and make changes in that. So there's all different iterations of AAC etiquette out there. This one is from Forbes AAC, but they're all very similar. One is don't take their device. Be careful about touching devices without permission. I always say, I don't touch your voice or your mouth. Don't touch theirs. You want to respect screen privacy. It's really easy when somebody is composing a message to look over their shoulder and try to anticipate what they're saying. Give them that privacy. Let them construct what they're doing. You want to always talk to the person and not the device. Also, don't talk to if you're asking them a question, look at them and ask the question. Don't ask their caregiver or their teacher or their communication support person. Don't assume that they only want to talk about one favored topic. People have all kinds of interests and often want to talk about all different things. You want to demonstrate that AAC is a normal and acceptable way to communicate for anyone. Again, don't respond until a message is complete. which can be tough, but just hang on there. And don't pile too many questions or comments at once. Again, don't do that rapid fire thing because they might still be trying to answer the first question and you're on the third one. And then you want to respect the communicator's message and acknowledge it, even if you don't fully understand or agree. So you might repeat back, I heard you say this. Is this what you were meaning? They might say yes or no. Or can you expand on that? Then they can expand on that. You just want to keep that open communication going and let them know, I'm not sure that I understand what you're saying. Let's talk about it some more so I can make sure. We've included some communication partner resources for you, including the Communication Bill of Rights that's put out by the American Speech Hearing Association. And then different things that may help. There's a communication partner profile, how to be a respectful communication partner. And there's a good article, it's part of a blog at the bottom, what we can learn from AAC users. Okay.
Thank you so much, Laura. What a wonderful presentation. We know that quite a bit of information has been shared with you all today, so I wanted to let you know that we've created a virtual guide, which is specifically directed towards autistic transition age youth and their caregivers. You as attendees today will be the first to receive this brand new resource. It's free to download, and we expect it to be ready in early April. And at that point, we'll send the link to all the participants. And just to kind of summarize what we talked about today, we learned about the different types of AAC and how important it is to have the ability to communicate. We also learned about ways to access AAC devices and some of the ways to secure funding for that. And finally, we covered many aspects of the process of learning and teaching AAC and incorporating it into the daily lives of transition age youth and young adults. We wish every young adult and their support network great success. And really is important to have community feedback and input. We truly value your feedback, and TASK would very much appreciate it if you could fill out our survey about your experiences and who you are, so that we can continue to produce resources and address these issues that are most important to you. This presentation, just to note, this presentation will be sent to you in PDF form so you can access all the links at any time.
All right. And as we end, I just want to remind you that the Autism Response Team is here for you. If you want to learn more about Autism Speaks or have questions about what you heard today related to yourself or your loved one, or really have questions about anything that's related to autism, please don't hesitate to reach out. Our emails are on the screen. The second one is for those that are Spanish speaking. So definitely reach out anytime and we're happy to help. And I will send it back over to Laura and Liz to close us off.
Just wanted to say thank you. Our contact information is here on the screen. Again, I'm Laura Martinez and Elizabeth Ortega. You met earlier, and she will be doing the same training tomorrow in Spanish with Natalie from Autism Speaks. And of course, the contact info will be in your handouts. And we just wanted to say thank you to everyone that attended, and a huge thank you to the Autism Response Team at Autism Speaks. We've really, really enjoyed this collaboration.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a good rest of your day.